Well, let's get started. Um, Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited to be here with you today for the latest in our Editor's Pick series. Maybe some of you have joined us before, but today we're going to talk about some super awesome new books that have been handpicked by editors to help us, specifically to help us improve our health, heal the mind, body, and soul. This is actually a topic that we plan to do every November, as it's just the perfect time to kind of reflect on the past year and plan for the coming year. So the spirit today is all about recharging, regenerating, and renewing. My name is Sarah Richmond. I'm on the team here at Edelweiss. But way back at the turn of the century, weird to say, but I started out my career as a mental health counselor. So being able to talk about some of these books that empower mental health as well as physical well-being is just personally really exciting for me. So whether you are a reader looking for books for your own shelves, or maybe you're a shopper starting your holiday season, or maybe you're just a bookseller or a librarian looking for new books for your customers or patrons, I guarantee in the next 45 to 50 minutes, you're going to add quite a few books to your list. So get your pens ready. But don't worry, we're also going to send out a link to the full collection of all of these books after today's session, so you can check them all out in Edelweiss later. Of course, you know there's lots more information available about all of these books in Edelweiss. I'm also going to be adding links to each book in the chat as we go. Many of these books have review copies available in Edelweiss right now, so you're going to definitely want to check those out. So one quick thing I want to note before we get started is that all proceeds from our Editor's Pick series goes to support the work of our Treeline 2020 initiative that promotes diversity and inclusion in our own publishing industry. So we do this through investing in organizations that are already doing this work really well, also by providing access through internships and scholarships, and also amplifying under-supported voices. Moving into the new year, you're actually going to see Treeline 2020, the name transition to what we're calling Ascend, but the mission is going to remain the same. So thanks so much for participating and helping this important work continue. Okay, so at the core of what we're talking about today is this idea that books have the power to change us and to create change in the world. Books have the power to change the way we view and understand life. They give us the knowledge we need to live life to the fullest. Books open up our minds to new possibilities and inspire us to take new actions. And one of the books you read about or hear about today might be the book that takes you down a new, better path. It might be a book that changes you. Books are dangerous like that. So here's your warning. The books you hear about today just might change your life. So reader discretion is advised. But that's kind of the point, right? I mean, at the start of every new year, whether you're one to make New Year's resolutions or not, there's this kind of contagious energy in the air that encourages us to think about how we might live our lives better, or heal past pain, or otherwise improve our connections and experience of our body, mind, and soul. In one of the books today, as I was looking through them, I saw, and this was in A Year of SelfCare by Dr. Zoe Shaw, there's this quote I love by Maria Shriver. So I'm going to read it to you. Every day, each of us is faced with the possibility of resetting our lives, refocusing, reimagining, rebooting. Every day we can decide to change our outlook, our words, our tone, and our attitude. And I think these 19 amazing books we're about to hear about are going to remind us of that. They're going to remind us that self-care and wellness is not just another box to check off, but with some intention and some reflection, we can make real and lasting changes that help us live our lives better. So that's enough from me. Let's dig into some of these books. This is how this is going to work. We have speakers here with us today who are each going to share one or two of their favorite books with us related to today's theme. So in 5 minutes or less, they're going to share why they're so excited about the book. And at the end, you're going to have a bunch of new books to check out. So to start us off, we have actually the author of Authentic Power, Ashley Bernardi, who's going to share with us a really special book on what feels like a pretty timely topic, since so many of us have faced grief and anxiety over the pandemic. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Ashley.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And it is such an honor to be here. My name is Ashley Bernardi. I am author of Our Authentic Power, Give Yourself Permission to Feel. And just so excited that my publisher has brought me here too. So thank you to the Collective Book Studio. So this book, Authentic Power, I'm so excited about. It was born out of the pandemic when I found myself faced with very familiar feelings that I have experienced before, and we likely all have. And those were feelings of grief, adversity, loss, trauma. I truly believe that the pandemic that we've all faced and that we are facing is a collective trauma. And what I've learned from my past traumas is that if we bury those messy and uncomfortable feelings deep down inside us, it is going to be at a cost to our health, livelihood, well-being on spiritual, emotional, and physical levels. And so for me, it was. And the pandemic was not a wake-up call for me. It was a reminder that I have my own authentic power within myself. And it's really when I get quiet and listen to that wisdom within is when true healing happens. And just a little bit about my story as to how I got here is I spent about 25 years of my life burying my childhood trauma, which was that my father died in front of my eyes when I was 11 years old. He had a sudden death heart attack, and my sister, who was 9, and I was 11, and my mother, we all tried to save his life. And so this trauma spiraled me into a completely new world as a child. And I thought that because I was an Army colonel's daughter, that I needed to be strong for myself and for my family. So for 20 years, I wore a mask of strength that came out in very, I would say, almost dangerous ways. I was a people pleaser. I had lack of boundaries. I had lack of self-worth. I thought because I couldn't save my father's life, I became addicted to work, addicted to alcohol, you name it. I did not stop because I never wanted to sit still with myself and process and deal these feelings that I had buried so deep within. And it wasn't until I was in my mid 30s, I was hit with another trauma, which was a mystery illness that eventually got diagnosed as Lyme disease and postpartum depression at the same time. It was like my body had had enough of the lies and could no more space to bury the trauma that I felt. And it all just started coming out. And instead, what I did, I listened this time. I said, what are these feelings here to teach me? What can I learn from them? That is where the healing happened. The physical healing happened was truly only 20% of what needed to happen in my life. The 80% was the spiritual healing of trauma and learning to process feelings of grief, anger, despair, often in real time. And so my book is for anyone that's faced with any sort of adversity. It doesn't need to be a trauma like mine. It could be, of course, the death of a loved one, and many of us have faced that during the pandemic, but it could also be a loss of a job, which many of us have also faced, the end of a marriage, the closing of a business. And so in my book, I uncover what I have learned is my feel framework, which is focus on your emotions, enter within them, experience and learn, listen, learn, and love them back. And that is where true healing happens. And in addition to that, I also interviewed over 20 healing experts. My dear friend Emma Seppala, who's a Stanford and Yale psychologist, wrote the foreword. In the book, I also interviewed Ocean Robbins, Dr. Jamil Zaki from Stanford, Dr. Courtney Howard, Dr. Jamie Hope. So many incredible and powerful healers and wisdom that I had learned from them along my healing journey. And I felt it was so important that I shared their wisdom within Authentic Power. And at the end of the day, really teaching everyone that we all have the wisdom within. It happens when we get still and we get quiet and give ourselves permission to feel. So thank you so much, Sarah, and everyone for this opportunity. I'm so excited.
Ooh, I can't wait to check that one out. It just, I mean, I can't imagine there's a single person who can't benefit from thinking through how to process grief and heal and grow. So thank you for sharing that today. I can't wait to check it out. Awesome. And I put the link in the chat. I'll continue doing that. So definitely check them out as we go if you'd like. Okay. So next up we have Valerie from Broadleaf Books, who's going to share 2 titles with us. And the first is this Lightmaker's Manifesto, which sounds like a great book to help us all focus our energy to make a difference without struggling through burnout. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Valerie.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. It's just a pleasure to be here. As Sarah said, my name's Valerie. I'm with Broadleaf Books. Just really happy to be here with all of you today to talk about two books that we at Broadleaf are really excited about. So yeah, The Lightmaker's Manifesto, How to Work for Change Without Losing Your Joy. It's written by Karen Walrond, who lives in Houston, Texas. It's published on November 2nd. So this is just a lovely self-help guide to what activism means, how to get comfortable calling yourself an activist, how to identify your core values and skills and gifts. She writes, about actual strategies for avoiding burnout, for bringing things like empathy and integrity and joy to the work and struggles for justice and for human dignity. At the end of the book, she has the Lightmaker's Manifesto, and then also the Lightmaker's Manual, which includes practices and prompts to actually help you work for change without losing your joy. So Karen is a Trinidadian American photographer, attorney, leadership coach, and activist. Her book includes a lot of interviews with other activists, including folks like Tarana Burke, who started the Me Too movement. She includes stories from folks like John Lewis and Bishop Desmond Tutu. She tells this great anecdote about a conversation with the grandson of Mohandas Gandhi in a hotel lobby. I would say the best way to get a sense of this book is to listen to a two-part interview that Brene Brown does with Karen on Brene's podcast, Unlocking Us, which is available on Spotify. Those episodes aired on November 3rd and November 10th. That conversation will just really, I think, give you a sense of the author's kind of luminous style of communicating. She is as effervescent in her speaking and writing as they come. So she really radiates the kind of joy that she's talking about in the book. She was a really, really great author to work with. So we have some excellent endorsements from Brene Brown, from Glennon Doyle, from Austin Channing Brown. Glennon Doyle calls the book essential reading for all those determined to change the world without sacrificing their humanity and joy. So in addition to the episodes of interviews with Brene Brown, we've got some other great publicity coming on this book. It'll be mentioned in the December issue of Good Housekeeping. There's an interview with the author forthcoming in the Houston Chronicle. The book was a book of the day for forward reviews on November 9th, and it'll be featured in the December issue of Book Page. So our marketing campaign will focus on indies via shelf awareness. There'll be ads on Bookshop and in Ingram's advanced catalog, and then a marketing and publicity campaign that really targets readers interested in social justice. So the second book I'm going to talk about is called Messy Minimalism, Realistic Strategies for the Rest of Us. Rochelle Crawford is the author from Lansing, Michigan, and this book releases December 7th. You can see this is just a lovely little book. Our sales department is swooning over this lovely package. Messy Minimalism, the author, Rochelle Crawford, curates the Abundant Life with Less site. Her Facebook following alone has tripled since we acquired this book. And I think we really get the sense that readers are hungry for like a guide that helps them declutter, reduce waste, but that doesn't overwhelm them with some kind of unattainable aesthetic or kind of Instagrammable perfection. The author, Rochelle, is just incredibly witty and self-deprecating. I must say her voice is just so singular, so approachable. She's just frankly hilarious. She talks about herself as a messy person, and she says, I just got overwhelmed by the accumulation and maintenance of stuff. And so she shares with readers practical, kind of no-nonsense strategies for curbing consumption and decluttering. And she says it doesn't include buying more plastic bins in which to store your stuff. So she offers really doable tips for readers, things like getting kids on board with the minimalist way, and perhaps especially during the holidays, getting grandparents on board with this idea. So it's really packed with ideas for owning less and living more fully. Joshua Becker of the Becoming Minimalist site calls this book a witty and wise must read. We have great endorsements from Courtney Carver of the Be More with Less website, Christine Platt, who's the author of the Afro-Minimalist Guide to Living with Less, and Danae Barahona of Simple Families writes a great foreword. So a couple of things we've got in terms of publicity in the works. The author will have a guest post on Joshua Becker's blog in December and an interview with Sina Harrington on Becoming and Busy. We're supporting this book with a variety of things like holiday gift guide, advertising, and PW and Ingram, promotion through shelf awareness and bookshop through the holidays for all of those New Year's resolutions into the new year. And we're running giveaways on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. So we are really excited about both of these books, really, really eager to get them into the hands of the readers that are waiting for them.
Awesome. Thank you, Valerie. I know working from home now, I am much more concerned about the clutter in my house. And I love the idea that minimalism refers to not just a tidy home, but also just decluttering your calendar and your mind. Seems like a great book that a lot of us could use. So thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right. So next up we have Deborah from Norton, who's going to tell us about this title about to come out, Affirmations for Turbulent Times.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to present here. And it's appropriate that the lead-in is working from home, because actually the idea for this book came from the fact that at dinner every night, 1 inch from my office that I was working in all day, I would say to my family, like, I need a book idea. I publish a lot on trauma and anxiety. I need something about the pandemic and trauma and anxiety. And finally, one of my kids said to me, well, why don't you think about something positive in terms of the times that we live in? And I said, well, you know, everything's a mess. It's crazy. And she said, I don't know, like, try to think positively. And out of that remark came this wonderful book by Sarah Payton, who is a mental health clinician. This is her 3rd book, and she is an expert at translating neuroscience facts into easily understandable material. And in this case, taking it even one step further, which is to take neuroscience foundations and put them into affirmation-sized bits of information that you can use to really affect the way your brain processes information. So we know from neuroscience research that resilience is not people who are unaffected by stress, that the resilient brain actually is more engaged with stressful situations. The science shows this, but it is the way that the resilient brain and the person in the resilient brain is engaged with the stressful situation that results in a resilient response. So taking this information, what Sarah has done is organized affirmations over a series of topics that we are all facing today. So there's big topics and little topics. Some of the big topics and themes are just general chaos and uncertainty, health and well-being, concerns about that, work, family, the losses that we've all experienced and how it's kind of hard to even understand what they might be. This pervasive feeling of helplessness that we have, that we may feel less helpless now, but we still feel helpless to some extent. Things more specific, like living in a crowded space, or working 1 inch from where you have dinner, or missing your friends, or wanting to go back to the old life. What she has done here is put those into a double-page spread in every page of this book, where on the one hand, she's got something called wonderings, and the wonderings are framed, I personally find this the most useful, like, do you wish that? Do you think about? Do you wonder? All grouped in that particular theme. Thinking about work. Is work always going to be like this? Will it be different? My family, my kids, whatever. And then the other side of the page is the same theme, but formulated as an affirmation that you can tell yourself. So it's really useful for readers that think, as I do, more on the kind of worry and wonder side, but also for readers who want to have positive affirmations about these topics. In terms of the book itself, it is actually, somebody wrote in the comments, it's a lovely cover. It is, it's a beautiful product. It feels good. It's a soft lamination. We have the metallic gold foil stamping. It's printing in 2-color inside, and we've got colored end papers. And then the theme of the cover is carried out inside the book. And I think the layout really works because, as I said, it's for both people who would approach it more from a sense of concern, as well as people who would approach it more from a sense of wanting some type of positive affirmation to say. And the author is as I mentioned, a beautiful writer and has the ability to take her clinical background and take her neuroscience background and sort of make those invisible in the positive affirmations that she has in this book. So thank you for asking me to share about it. I think it's just a great book, and not because it was my daughter's idea.
I love that though. No, it looks like such a cool little book that belongs on like your bedside table to either read first thing in the morning or right before you go to bed, just to kind of to do that a little bit every day.
Pretty common, yes.
Yeah, but I love how it's little micro lessons. Those are my favorites. So awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so next up, we've got Valerie Pierce from Source Books on, who's going to share 2 books with us. The first, this Friday Forward, looks like the perfect book to just get more out of the 52 weeks that were granted in 2022. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Valerie.
Thanks so much, Sarah. And I loved your segue earlier about little micro parts of your life, because that's exactly what the Simple Truths line does. Is every single book, they kind of look like this. If you can see it, they're these really beautiful hardcovers that have some full color pictures inside, and they each focus on one very specific area of your life that you can improve on. I always say they're really bingeable. They're kind of like candy, but as a parent, they're not really candy. They're something that's made out of vegetables. It's really sweet and wonderful, but they're just really, really good for you. So jumping into Friday Forward, I have to start off by saying I'm a huge fan of the author, Robert Glazer. My company has an emerging managers book club that I help to lead, and we recently read one of his books, Elevate. And what I appreciate about his books is that the advice he gives is incredibly applicable to both your personal and your professional life. And it's very digestible and accessible. Most of his books can be read in under an hour, but they pack a really big punch. His new book, Friday Forward, came out of his desire to change his personal morning routine. He promised himself he would get up a little bit earlier every single day, and instead of checking his email, looking at social media, or thinking about all the things that were on his task list, instead, he would dedicate that time to quiet thinking, writing, or reading something inspirational. He was actually looking for a newsletter that would kind of give that to him, but he couldn't find anything. So sometimes if you can't find something, the best thing to do is just to create it yourself. And that's what he did. He created a newsletter that encouraged inspirational stories, but there were stories that would challenge you to think about your life. And he started sending these out to everyone in his company on Friday morning. And he thought people might read it, they might skim it, they might think it was nice. He never expected that every single employee in his company would look forward to that email every single Friday. He never expected that email to go outside of his company, and he certainly never expected that every Friday morning, 5 years later, over 200,000 people would open that email to get those little stories of inspiration. So his goal now is to encourage other people to be inspiration leaders. And what feels so good about his book and his message is that it doesn't feel overwhelming. Again, he doesn't encourage you to go out and get 200,000 followers. He just wants you to start by trying to inspire one person. So you start there. A quick example of a small story that I really appreciated, especially since we're getting close to New Year, in addition to resolutions, come up with a stop doing list. What are activities and tasks that take up a lot of headspace, don't move things forward, and drag you down? For example, would you be happier and have more time if you removed Facebook from your phone? Or maybe at least set some parameters, like you're only going to check it in the morning, you're only going to check it for 10 minutes, and that's it. Are there people in your life that actually make you feel worse about yourself after you spend time with them? Are there commitments you have that, again, they're things you've always done, but you don't need to keep doing them? These are things he challenges you to think about, and they're not always comfortable. Change is not always comfortable, but change is what will help us improve ourselves and our lives. So next, I'm going to start with my next book. Sarah, thank you so much for flipping the slide. Next is The Happy Inbox. So has anyone ever sat down, determined to work on a project that you're really, really excited about, but then that new email pops up? You see it on your screen and you think, I'm just going to answer this email really quickly. But then after an hour, you've actually really not worked on your project. You've really just worked on email, and you just feel kind of demotivated. You feel like you didn't get what you wanted done, and you just feel kind of stressed about it. Or maybe you answer emails during meetings, or you're answering them when you're with your family, and you realize that you're not always fully answering questions people are asking, and you're not being present for people. So hopefully I haven't created a bunch of anxiety for people who maybe have experienced this. I know I certainly have. But if I did create any anxiety, I'm happy to say that this book is the solution to that anxiety. Email isn't the only place we experience communication debt, but it's definitely one of the key places that we can create some control and boundaries for ourselves. And why is this important? Because when you're not in control of your email, you're not in control of your workload. It literally steals your control away, causing you far more anxiety and stress than you need. It can make you feel like you have to answer email during your personal time, which can keep you from giving yourself the opportunity to relax, renew, and rejuvenate so that you're ready and excited to get back to work. This book offers mindset shifts about email and actionable and specific ways to take control of your email so that you can have a happier home and work life. One of the key takeaways that I had that I loved about this was thinking about your inbox like your mailbox. So would you open up your mailbox each day, open up the letters, read them, and then put them right back in the mailbox, continuing to let it build each day? You can tell yourself that you know which letters are important and tell yourself that you'll remember to pay bills on time. But as the letters build up, so does your likelihood of making mistakes and missing important action items. Your inbox is the same thing. So it's just a really great way to think of your inbox as a receiving center and start creating rules and creating tasks for yourself so that you can file that email away. That's one very specific part of the book. There are a lot of other great key takeaways, and I hope that you all get a chance to read it and that you all have very happy inboxes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Valerie. I can tell by the chat that I'm not the only one that feels a little personally attacked by this title.
Yeah, and I will say she
that
has
I
a
need
piece.
it.
Yeah, she has a piece. Someone said they have 60,000 emails. She even addresses that too. Like when you have tens of thousands of emails, what should you do? So that is in the book too.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
That's great. All right, cool. All right, so next up we've got Leah Miller from Simon Element, who's going to share two really cool titles with us. The first here seems like it's just going to outline a program that would be a great way to start out your 2022.
Oh my gosh, and how. So I'm so happy to be talking about these two books with radically different perspectives on creating radiant health, both by extraordinary, insightful, and passionate women. So as founder and practicing physician at Parsley Health, the country's largest telemedicine health center, Dr. Robin Berzin has treated thousands of patients with a wide array of physical conditions, almost always coupled with anxiety, fatigue, and other energy-sapping conditions. And through that experience, Robin has spent over a decade learning that we have within ourselves the ability to change our baseline for health. State changes here with a doctor's perspective on what we have been getting wrong about treating fatigue, anxiety, and the ever-present burnout. Sustainable energy, focus, and resilience are actually created when we take care of our physical health. This book, State Change, is a cross between The Body Keeps the Score and Burnout. And even better, it comes with a 30-day program to actually put these paradigm-shifting ideas into action. Dr. Berzin has created a program for how we can raise our own baselines of energy, optimism, and great health. First, she gives us the tools that we need to diagnose underlying chronic conditions that may be impacting us. And second, she explains how practicing 5 core actions can optimize physical health in a way that actually creates mental clarity and energy. State Change makes good on the promise that we can feel good again, and it provides us the tools that we need to change the state of first our bodies and then our minds. I love this book. It got me through the pandemic, and I cannot wait for everybody to read it. There is no better time than now to make a state change. And for something a little different, most of us know our zodiac sign. Many of us know our Enneagram or our personality type. But do you know what day of the week you were born? And do you know why it matters? I love to find new metrics to understand myself, and that's what A Week to Change Your Life is about. Board-certified naturopath Dr. Olivia Audrey, who is also an intuitive healer, has discovered a new modality for health, for aligning your life with the natural rhythm of your body. The underlying science of this program is something very cool called circaseptan rhythm. Similar to the 24-hour circadian rhythm that a lot of us know about, a circaseptan rhythm is a 7-day pattern that traces the ebb and flow of inflammation, detoxification, and release in our bodies. And here's what's really cool. Everyone's peak levels of information occur on the day of the week that they were born. Dr. Olivia has created a 7-day protocol that she uses to help her patients sync up their own natural rhythms and unlock amazing radiant health. This can involve small changes like changing the time of medical intervention, adding supplements on a specific day to aid in achieving specific health goals, and also offering guidance on a whole new way to tune into your bodies. So whether you're looking to support a specific goal or just trying not to be so crabby on a Tuesday, A Week to Change Your Life offers an incredible new tool for syncing up with your body's natural patterns.
That's awesome.
So Wednesday, children, be gentle with yourselves tomorrow. It's going to be okay. Don't send any emails that you may regret on a Friday when your inflammation level starts to go down. And let me know if you'd like a galley.
That's awesome. It also seems like a really cool framework for all of the wisdom and advice that she has for just improving your health with all the background she has. So very cool. Thanks for sharing that with us. Well, people are like, let me in on the galley. Okay, so moving right along, next up we have Francesca Carlos from Mariner Books, who's going to share 2 books with us. I have to admit, I saw the title for this first one and thought, well, this must be a sign. I'm writing this one down, so I can't wait to hear more about it.
Thank you, Sarah and Leah. That book sounds awesome. I'd love a galley of it if it's available. But for Women, Food, and Hormones, available now, Sarah Gottfried's instant New York Times bestseller presents a groundbreaking new plan customized for women to help balance their hormones so that they can lose excess weight, maintain the loss more easily, and most importantly, feel better. Gottfried spent her entire career demystifying hormones and helping patients improve their health more broadly with personalized medicine. She combines hormonal detoxification, an intermittent fasting method, and more than 50 delicious recipes in her effective fat-burning solution customized for women. I think that this book is perfect for the beginning of 2022 and for the New Year, New Me campaign because it's great for people looking to start fresh and begin their wellness journey. So very excited for that one. It's a great book. Great, thank you. And on to our next book that's on sale in January, Valerie Bertinelli's heartfelt memoirs packed with personal and inspiring stories on hitting her 50s, marriage, caring for her dying mother, her relationship with food, and finding strength in herself. In the book, Bertinelli reflects on turning 60 and finding happiness within her body while giving tips for a healthier outlook on life. By saying enough already, she set out on a journey to discover that self-love is really rooted in the joys of everyday experiences with both our loved ones and the food that we share. So Bertinelli's memoir is perfect for the new year as she gives advice on the journey to finding strength within. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I'm really excited to have presented these books to you.
I think enough already might just be my motto for 2022.
Absolutely.
That's like a good one. I love it. And I mean, she's written at least 4 other books?
Yeah.
So if you've checked out one of her books before, this seems like a great one. So thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
All right. So next up, we've got Chris from Disruption Books. He's going to talk to us about the next 2 titles. The first one seems like a primer for increasing self-awareness. So tell us about it, Chris. You're going to have to unmute yourself, Chris, I think.
You're right. I need to be more aware. I need this book. So thanks, Sarah. If you're not familiar with us, Disruption Books publishes progressive nonfiction that promotes thought leadership and positive change in a variety of genres, and we're distributed by IPG. So I'm excited to share these 2 titles with you today. The first is Being Essential, 7 Questions for Living and Leading with Radical Self-Awareness by executive coach Dane Dunstan. This book explores a framework for leadership that the author has developed through his work with C-suite executives, but also with Gen Y and millennial leaders who are new to their roles. So big variety of experience there. Business genre readers who like books by authors like Ryan Holiday or Brené Brown will find that same kind of diverse research and vulnerability that is in Being Essential. And readers could even apply some of the concepts they've learned in those other books, especially Brené Brown's books, to the practice that they're going to learn how to do in Being Essential. And an exciting thing about this title is that it offers readers a way to deal with all the messaging that they're hearing about how they should bring their whole selves to work, how work is changing, the future of work, or whatever happens to be the office mantra du jour. Change is going to be relentless as we come out of the pandemic, and we hear a lot about the future of the office and of work. How do we show up in it? How do we reach personal joy and satisfaction in our work? How do we encourage that feeling in the people that we lead? This book should be especially useful for younger and mid-level managers and leaders in an organization. What the author finds in his coaching work, especially with younger leaders, is that they know what they're supposed to do. They're very well trained and directed, but they don't know who they're supposed to be to themselves or to other people that they're around in work and in life. So Dane developed this framework that shows leaders how to coach themselves to master their own cognitive, emotional, and communicative experiences, and to live their personal and professional lives in a way that brings them joy and satisfaction. In other words, to find alignment with the essence of their true selves, which he calls the essential self, hence being essential. This practice is used to align the mind and bring awareness to behavior. So like yoga, which the author taught in his earlier years, this practice is never complete. It can be customized for each person, and we never stop asking ourselves the questions because we never stop being human beings. You can see the 7-question framework there on the slide, and the questions might seem simple, but they are easy to remember so that the leaders can call on them and coach themselves in the moment. Readers learn how to use the questions through real stories from Dane's coaching work and through a diverse array of examples from neuroscience to Eastern philosophy and pop culture. The author explains that once we figure out who we ought to be, we can access radical self-awareness, which helps us be our own true north and makes us stronger, better leaders for other people. This book recognizes that being better in business also requires you to be a better person to yourself and to others. By practicing being essential, readers can live, lead, and meet the demands of change while staying true to themselves. And this book will come out on March 8th, 2022. We're excited about that. On Edelweiss, you can find a digital review copy of Being Essential, information about the author, the table of contents, an excerpt from the book, and our marketing plan. We will approve any requests for the DRC just mentioned in the comments field that you attended this webinar. We also, if we'll flip the slide, have a backlist title to share with you. An Effort to Understand was released spring 2021, and we have some promotions in place over the holidays and into 2022. This book is a celebration of communication as a way of life. It is a collection of essays that explores why talking to one another is a practice that we cannot afford to quit, even when it seems like a dead end, something I'm sure we've all felt in the past few years for a variety of reasons. The essays here range in topic from politics and marriage to work and parenthood. The author is David Murray. He is a professional communicator. He heads the Global Speechwriters Association, and he blogs every day about writing and communication. So whether he's breaking down a CEO's TED Talk or lamenting the crime of ghosting, Murray's point is that what we say and how we say it matters, and he promotes the practice of what he calls rhetorical nonviolence. So readers who are interested in the new Kirsten Powers book, Saving Grace, might find An Effort to Understand a worthy and certainly more humorous companion title about the importance of communication in a divided nation. The DRCs for An Effort to Understand and our other recent backlists are on Edelweiss, so check that out when you get a chance. And it was great talking to you today. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chris. I love this book. It seems like one maybe some of us should grab before the holidays with family.
You might want to. It's a quick read. It's a fun read.
I love how it says when it comes to communication, we're all the bad guys. We're never done learning how to communicate better. That's for sure. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. So next up, we've got Lori from PESI Publishing. He's going to talk to us about this next one, which seems like such an actionable toolkit full of useful tools and resources for all of us. So tell us about it.
Hi, so as an author here and not representing a publishing company, I am not prepared like everybody else. And it is also gardening day and trash day. So if you hear noise in the background, this is going to be the messy one. So I'm here to talk about Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, the workbook, a toolkit for editing your story and changing your life. It is based on my book, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, a therapist or a therapist in our lives revealed. And just for some context, so when Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, the book came out, it was a big sort of surprise in terms of how many people read this. It followed the lives of 4 of my therapy patients, and then there was a 5th patient in the book. That 5th patient was me as I went through my own therapy. So you saw the human condition revealed from me as therapist and me as clinician. It's funny, it's moving, it resonated with a lot of people. Over 1 million copies have been sold at this point. And a lot of people said when they read Maybe You Should Talk to Someone that they underlined, they dog-eared, they highlighted, they posted quotes and themes over on their bathroom mirrors, over their desks, and they wanted a workbook. And I had to admit that I was not really a workbook person. I was, I have a podcast called Dear Therapist, where I feel like I help people through that. I have a column in The Atlantic called Dear Therapist, where I help people through that. I help people in my clinical practice. And a lot of my patients would sometimes come in and, talk about workbooks. And I always was sort of like, And I didn't want to just pull themes from Maybe You Should Talk to Someone and call that a workbook, because I wanted the workbook to be as transformative for people as the book was. And so I couldn't really figure out what that would look like. So I thought, well, I'll think about that later, if ever. And then later that year, I did a TED Talk, and it was about how changing our stories can change our lives. And my TED Talk was about how we're all unreliable narrators of our own lives. And I talk about that, and Maybe You Should Talk to Someone as well. And that we have these stories. And usually when we get stuck, it's because there's a story that we're telling ourselves, about our lives, about the people in our lives, that is a faulty narrative. Not that we are purposely misleading, but that we are telling our stories through a very subjective lens. And what we need is a gentle edit to our stories. And so there's a quote in the book: part of getting to know yourself is to unknow yourself, to let go of the limiting stories that you've told yourself about who you are, so that you can live your life and not the stories you've been telling yourself about your life. And that unraveling is the therapeutic process, but not everybody has access to that. And so after the TED Talk went viral, I thought, wait a minute, this is what everybody started emailing me again: get us a workbook, get us a workbook. We understand we need to change our stories, but can you guide us through that? And so Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, the workbook, was born. And in this book, I take people through the process of, whereas in Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, I think that it was more of an experience than a blueprint, even though it was, I think, self-help for a lot of people. This is really a guide where I am there with you. I'm holding your hand through this process. And I am taking you through the steps that I would take someone through if they were sitting in my therapy office and wanted to really get in there, get in the trenches and examine their stories. And it's, I talk in the book about the difference between idiot compassion and wise compassion. Idiot compassion is what our friends do for us. So we say, listen to what happened with my mother, my partner, my coworker, my sibling. And we say, yeah, they were wrong, you were right. And we kind of just back them up because we think we're being supportive. But what we're really doing is we're helping to kind of solidify that story for them that really isn't working. It's kind of like if a fight breaks out in every bar you're going to, maybe it's you, but we don't say that to our friends. In wise compassion, which is what I do in the workbook and what I do in the therapy room, we hold up a mirror to you and help you to see something that maybe you haven't been willing or able to see. And so what we're doing is we're going through all of the stories that people have told us about ourselves. A lot of times we carry around these stories that are really much more about the storyteller, the people who said, oh, you're the sensitive one, or you're this, or you're that, right? And then we kind of integrated that story into our way of being, the way that we navigate through the world. And then we came up with other stories from our personal experiences, like I'm unlovable, or I can't trust anyone, or nothing will ever work out for me. And so how do we work with these stories, and how do we come up with an accurate version of our lives that helps us to move through the world differently and frees us up for the trap we've been in with that story that wasn't working? I think it's a perfect time for this workbook. I think going into the holidays, so many people really want to kind of, especially after the last year and a half we've been through, how do we look at our stories differently? How do we edit some of these stories? How do we make lasting change? And then going into, of course, 2022, going into the new year, I think so many people are saying, I want to do all this, but I need a guide. I need someone who's going to hold my hand and take me through this and actually do some deeper work. And how can I do that? And here you've got it on your nightstand. You have a record of your work and the evolution of what you've done. So I think it's the perfect, gift to yourself or to others as we head into the holidays and head into the new year. And I'm really excited. It just came out, and a lot of people have been reviewing it and posting on social media about it. People are super excited about what it's doing for them. And so I hope that all of you who try it have a really good time editing your story and changing your life.
I love that. Thanks, Lori. That I was making a note. I have someone in mind to give that to for the holidays, and maybe a copy for myself too, I think. Thanks so much.
Of course.
Great. Awesome. All right. So okie doke. Next up, we've got from Callisto and also Rockridge Press, we've got Stephanie, who's going to share two beautiful books with us. The first you see here, who takes perhaps the overused but definitely misunderstood concept of self-care and really makes it actionable and meaningful. So I'll pass it over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you for starting with Maria Shriver's quote from our book. It's one of my favorites from our January prompts. Okay, so before we start, I'd like everyone to raise their hand just to themselves. We're going to take a self-care pact. I will not simply check off the self-care box. I am far more valuable and complicated. I will commit to the deep, caring experience of getting to know myself intimately. I will enjoy the ride. And today I solemnly swear that I will practice self-care in a meaningful way. My name's Stephanie Fidus. I'm the National Account Specialist for the ReaderLink team at Callisto Media. Today, I'm here to introduce two of my favorite self-care wellness titles. A Year of SelfCare by Dr. Robin Gobin, and the one that's on the screen, The Self-Care Prescription. These titles are beneficial individually, but together they make excellent self-care companions. A Year of SelfCare by Dr. Zoe Shaw is a guide filled with 366 daily mindful practices and prompts to help anyone looking to work on their mental, emotional, and even physical self-care. The Self-Care Prescription, the book I'm going to talk to you about now, by Dr. Robin Gobin, offers powerful solutions to manage stress, reduce anxiety, and increase well-being. Dr. Gobin focuses on 6 important aspects of self-care: physical, social, intellectual, vocational, spiritual, and emotional well-being. The Self-Care Prescription empowers you to find balance and purpose in your relationships, work, and life through questions, discussions, and activities that will help you create action plans and goals to help you maximize your self-care time. This is an actionable prescriptive guide to giving you the life you want to live. There's a section on vocational well-being, which especially resonates with me because it talks about balancing our work life with our home life, which is something that everyone could use more of right now. It also takes time to address the need for purpose in one's job. We all want to feel that satisfaction, that feeling of meaning, to feel like we're contributing to the world with the work we're doing each day. And something that the Self-Care Prescription reminds us of is that you may not be where you want to be in your work life right now, but you can choose to bloom where you're planted and believe in yourself. The Self-Care Prescription by Dr. Robin Gobin offers you some steps that you can put into place in order to grow each area of well-being, as well as offering you a quick summary at the end of each chapter that can easily be referenced. While the book is organized in chapters, the best part is that you can skip around. Head to the chapters that work on the areas you need help in right now, and then come back to another chapter later. This book reminds you that self-care is a holistic quest towards the healthier life that we're all craving. If you would go ahead and switch it over to the other one. So this is A Year of SelfCare by Dr. Zoe Shaw. I mentioned before, it has 366 daily mindful practices and prompts. She offers bite-sized inspirations for every day of the year, including leap year. The reader begins with a self-care pact that we all took that starts them on their journey, followed by daily supportive strategies, insightful reflections, and inspirational quotes to help commit to a daily self-care practice. This book includes a theme for every month, from relationships and gratitude to simplicity and discipline. The month of November is all about gratitude, and we are reminded to thank our vessels, be grateful for the people who make us happy, and celebrate the pocket-sized wins. It's an easy guide for annual use, which makes it even more fun because each time you use it, you'll learn more about yourself, your ideas, and how you've grown. In a cute 8x8 format with colorful design layouts, A Year of Self-Care will keep you committed to your practices. A Year of Self-Care by Dr. Zoe Shaw is an excellent reminder for everyone that self-care is not selfish and that it comes in all shapes and sizes. I highly recommend grabbing a notebook and pen whenever you sit down with this book. Before we go, I'd like to leave you with one last reminder, a quote from mental health advocate Katie Reed from the October 17th entry in A Year of Self-Care. Self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. Both of these titles are available now for purchase through your local retailers. Thank you for your time and attention today.
Thanks, Stephanie. It's another one that has those micro lessons that are just so great to keep at your table so that you can pick it up often. And
exactly. And sometimes it gives you like a small task to do for the day that it's just not supposed to feel daunting because it's just supposed to remind you like, hey, if you need to pick me up, here I am.
And 8x8, if your stocking's big enough, it could be a stocking stuffer.
This is definitely stocking stuffer material.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Okay. So next up, we've got Inside Editions, which you can find in Edelweiss within the Simon & Schuster catalogs. Rachel Berry's going to share two really great titles with us today. And the first looks to be another great workbook that would be great to give or receive. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you. I'm feeling so seen in this presentation. This list of books couldn't have come at a better time. So you're preaching to the choir. Okay, so first up, Manifesting is the next in our line of guided journals, and it's part of the Mandala Earth imprint here at Insight, again, which is nested under Simon & Schuster and Edelweiss. So that's where we're at. I mostly want to really give a pitch for just how great this entire series of journals is. I've got, which you can't see, of course, because it's all blurry, but I've got our self-care journal in front of me, which is a fantastic seller. These are just, we make great journals. And if you haven't checked them out before, I'm kind of a snob about notebooks and journals. And I just highly recommend that you check them out and look at the quality. They're really giftable, but they just beg to be used. They're that kind of quality. So Manifesting is the next title in the list to kind of add to the collection, and they're really thoughtfully put together. They have these really pretty covers. Someone commented on that, but it's really lovely covers, the archival paper, and just really kind of sensible pages that kind of guide you through the art of manifesting. And it's clear, it's pretty wonderful. Like I said, great for gifting, but great for self-work. And it's a 90-day support system. You've got great spreads that are encouraging you along the way. And they're pretty magical. So check out our journals, and Manifesting's the latest. Of course, vegan leather for the cover, super luxe. And the next title is Growing Consciousness. And this one is so timely for all of us. I know, Sarah, you mentioned your houseplant habit during the past couple of years. A lot of us sort of kind of had some time to tend to literal gardens, whether they be gardens in your windowsill. I still managed to kill those. I finally found an arrow garden is the only thing that I am unable to kill. But in that journey and in that practice of gardening, I think that kind of feeling of mindfulness and the peace of it really came out. And I'm really excited about Leo Carver's book. Leo is a Kentucky-based teacher of meditation, yoga, herbalism, and other holistic wellness techniques for the past decade. And this book really makes clear that link between spirituality and the garden. Daily meditation practices coupled with the actual act of gardening, it just brings out that amazing marriage between growing your consciousness and growing actual fruits and vegetables and plants and flowers. And it's really quite beautiful. And I think I mentioned this, but it's really important. You don't need to have like a 3-acre farm for this to be relevant. If you have a tiny pot of basil that you picked up at the supermarket and that you're tending to, same philosophies, same principles, tying yourself to nature. And we're just absolutely thrilled. He's a wonderful, warm author. And so we're hoping to do events with him. He's based in Kentucky. I said that already. Yes, he's going to be doing events in that area. And we'll be doing some online work as well. But I highly recommend this for anyone interested in both kind of mindfulness and also gardening.
It's also an adorable book. Like if you go into Edelweiss and you look through some of the images of the inside, it's just adorable. And the chapters moving through the plant life cycle and ecosystem.
It's really approachable. This isn't like some scary, I think sometimes in the gardening category, as well in the spirituality category, it can just be kind of like so much. And this really takes you in a really approachable way that's satisfying and kind of a wonderful gift to give somebody with a plant. I don't know. I love to give, plants as gifts. So I think it's a great kind of add-on in that regard. But this is an all year long sort of celebration of spirituality and gardening that I think you're going to love. So check
Definitely
it out.
going to go on my bookshelves downstairs that have books and plants.
Books and plants.
That's right. It'll be perfect.
Exactly. Thank you, Sarah.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. All righty. So, okay, last but certainly not least, we have Joel from St. Martin's Essential, who's going to share our final 2 titles with us today. The first is a new book, but I think a familiar author to many. So, Joel, tell us about that.
Hi, thanks. I'm Joel Fotinos, founder of St. Martin's Essentials, which is the lifestyle imprint at St. Martin's Press. We've been around for about 3 years now, and we're growing like gangbusters. And today I just wanted to tell you about 2 titles that are upcoming that we're very excited about. And the first is Seeking Wisdom. This is the galley for Seeking Wisdom. Seeking Wisdom is the latest in Julia Cameron's guides to help others with the creative process. I'm sure most of you know The Artist's Way. That's what she's most known for. It sold many millions of copies over the years and continues to be a bestseller. I've worked with Julia now for 25 years, and I can tell you she is at the top of her teaching and writing brilliance. Julia's last book was called The Listening Path, and it was her most successful book in many years. And now we're hoping to build on that success with Seeking Wisdom. Seeking Wisdom is a 6-week Artist's Way program, perfect for those who read The Artist's Way and then end it and think, well, now what do I do? And it's also perfect for those who are new to The Artist's Way and are having their first experience in living a more creative life. Seeking Wisdom, like all Artist's Way books, uses the 3 tools of The Artist's Way, but Seeking Wisdom has an all-new tool, and it's called Writing Out Guidance, which is a powerful way to connect to our highest wisdom within. And who doesn't need that, right? Like The Artist's Way, this creativity book has a spiritual tone, not a religious one. So again, like The Artist's Way, it can be used by people of all backgrounds and all beliefs. What's fascinating to me personally about the book is that Julia reveals that the process in this program that's in this book is the very process that Julia herself used to create The Artist's Way, which she describes in detail in the introduction. As Julia writes in the book, quote, she says, "I have been teaching creative unblocking for 4 decades now. And one of the core concepts of my teaching is that creativity and spirituality are inextricably linked. Creativity is a path to spirituality, and spirituality is a path to creativity. The Artist's Way process has been used by artists of all disciplines, from Pete Townsend to Goldie Hawn to Patricia Cornwell to Judy Collins and many, many others. It's been used by painters, actors, writers, singers, and anything you can think of. While it appeals to artists, though, most of the readers of these Artist's Way books are those who just want to learn to express themselves creatively. Over the years working with Julia, I've seen that the Artist's Way process appeals to people who are stay-at-home parents, or they're CEOs, or they're graduates, or entrepreneurs. They're anywhere from millennials or Gen Z to 50 plus, 60 plus, 70 plus, and more. Really, these Artist's Way books appeal to anyone who is ready to begin connecting to their creative process in any and every part of their lives. This is the book that really millions of Artist's Way fans have been waiting for, and it is the process to make your own creative dreams come true. That's Julia. The other book I want to talk to you about is The Answers Are Within You. Again, this is the galley. The finished book is really beautiful. I don't have one with me, but it's 4-color. It's just gorgeous. The Answers Are Within You is the new guide to connecting to your emotions by Amber Ray, the author of the popular book, Choose Wonder Over Worry. Amber Ray is a popular influencer, teacher, speaker, and Instagram star. She has over 300,000 people on Instagram, and I invite you to check out her Instagram. It's really amazing. Her new book is based in part on her most powerful and popular memes, but it's expanded and contains all new material. So the way this book works is it's filled with 2-page spreads, and each 2-page spread is like a map to our inner brilliance. Again, the finished book, it's all color. It helps us to reframe what holds us back into something that can propel us forward, to go from maybe fear and hesitation or feeling stuck in life to living your best life. Each of the 2-page spreads is like a session with the best life coach ever. And what's really fun about the book is that it can be read in 2 ways. You can, of course, read it front to back, but Amber had an even more interesting idea with this book. The reader can think of a situation they need clarification with, take a breath, and then open their book to the answer. I've been using it since Amber turned in the manuscript, and it's really uncanny how accurate and helpful it is. The book itself is very gifty, great for displays. It's a paper over board book. Again, it's in full color with high quality production. I think this book has everything going for it. Great endorsements, an insightful author with a passionate and growing social media platform. It's a great book. It's a great package, perfect for impulse buys. This is a timely gift book and guidebook for everyone who wants deep but bite-sized wisdom for a greatly lived life.
I love that. Thanks, Joel. I feel like that book was just a wonderful note to end on, because, you know, no matter what you're questioning or struggling with, it's going to help you find the answer and help you trust your own intuition and step forward onto that new path. So, and it's gorgeous. Looks like a gorgeous book. So awesome. Woo, I need all of them. I need all of these books. Thanks so much to our speakers today who shared these wonderful books with us. Thank you all for listening. I hope you found some awesome books to check out. You can find, of course, all of these on Edelweiss. Lots of them have review copies available, so check those out. We'll send you links afterwards. Of course, if you're looking to purchase, please contact your local independent bookstore. And we at Edelweiss wish you the very best in 2022. Thanks, everybody.